So yeah, we've been running these webinars in the hope that we are able to support your job hunt, help you with wider career information, and generally just get to know you, and hopefully you get to know us a little bit better. This evening, we are delighted to be joined by the lovely Kate Lewis. Kate is a coach who specialises in helping people find the joy in their career, often through a career change. And that is the topic of tonight's conversation. We've run a similar webinar with Kate before, and it was really, really well received. So we wanted to open it up to a new audience. I'm not going to steal her thunder because she's going to introduce herself and the topic in a minute, but hopefully those of you who are here are considering whether you're joyous in your career and what would bring you joy in your career, and Kate will be able to help you figure out how to reach that joyous place. Just a couple of housekeeping issues. We've got about a 30-minute presentation, and then there will be time for questions at the end. If you do have questions during this evening, please pop them in the Q&A or the chat, and I will either try and answer them during the presentation, or we will address them at the end. If for any reason we don't get to your question, we will try and come back to you tomorrow. We do send out a standard Q&A document. If there's something really, really personal or really specific that you want to have a conversation about, then both Kate and I can be contacted after this evening. My contact details are available in the very many emails you will have received about this evening, and Kate might have a little treat for you at the end along with her contact details. So please do feel free to get in touch with us. We will be sending out a recording of this evening, so please do feel free to take notes, but if you don't want to, don't worry, it will come out to you as a recording tomorrow, along with a couple of additional attachments. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Kate.
Great, thank you so much. Hello everybody, it's really brilliant to be here this evening. As Jo says, I have done webinars for Ten2Two before, and it's always an absolute pleasure. So thank you for having me, and thank you for coming this evening. I was going to share my screen, but actually I'm just going to talk to you first so that you can actually see me rather than it being this little square in the top. Just to introduce the webinar, introduce myself a little bit, and then I'll drop in some slides as and when they will help you to visualize things. So just to make sure that we're all in the right place, you are in the right place tonight. If you sort of fall into any of these categories, if you are feeling stuck or dissatisfied in your job, but you don't really know what to do about it, if you know that something needs to change, but you're not entirely sure what that is or how that is, maybe you are considering your options after redundancy or after a long period of time out of work, or a short period of time out of work, and wondering if now, as you're considering your next steps, is time to think about a change in direction as well. Maybe you just don't feel like your job reflects who you are and what you care about, and who you've become as a person. So many of us start our jobs 10, 20 years ago or something, and you work and you have a family and you do all these things, and your job sort of stays the same, and you might wake up one day and just be like, wait, hang on, what's happened? I don't feel like I'm the same person anymore, and it doesn't reflect. So hopefully during this evening, this will help you to start the journey towards knowing exactly what it is that you're good at, and how to explain that to other people, and how to use that to help you in your decision making as you think about your next steps. It will start you thinking about your skills and your experience and how that might transfer, and how it can definitely transfer from one industry into another, or one role into another. Hopefully it will start to make you feel excited and motivated by your work and by your future opportunities, so that you can end up in a place where the work that you are doing and the place where you are doing it feels really in line with who you are and your values. And that, to me, is a big part of this concept of feeling and rediscovering the joy in your career. We all spend, on average, apparently 90,000 hours of our lives at work. So that is a very big motivation for me, as to why I work with people, to make sure that as far as possible we can find joy and alignment in those hours that we spend doing something that is really important. So a little bit about me. Joe gave me an introduction at the beginning. So I'm Kate Lewis. I am a coach and a trainer. I call myself the career joy catalyst, which basically, as I said just now, means that I work with people through coaching and through communications and soft skills and work-based trainings to get to know yourselves a bit better, get to know the people around you a bit better, understand your skills, your values, and really rediscover joy and alignment. Because, well, my motto is that life is far too short to not love what you do. I have experienced career change myself multiple times. I've traveled internationally, worked in 6 different countries across 4 continents, sort of restarting and reimagining my career along the way. I'm a parent. I know change. I have experienced, I've lived it. I have benefited from it and struggled with it. And that is really sort of underlying what I do now to help other people with these transitions and these changes. So let's share my screen now. Let me just make sure that I'm on the correct page, hopefully. Okay, can you see the screen? Should be a line, some dots. Joe, can you give me a nod or a thumbs up? Can you see it? Great, thank you. Okay, so this is a...
Sorry, Kate, we do have a screen in front of your presentation though.
Oh, sorry, that's not what you want,
Presenter
is
view
it?
screen.
There you go. How's
That's
that?
better.
Okay,
Perfect.
brilliant. Don't need the presenter view anyway. So this is a little demonstration of life, work as it used to be. For some of us, certainly for me, this was sort of what my parents knew of work. You studied, you got a job, maybe you got some promotions. If you stayed in that same job until you retired, and if you were lucky, you got a gold watch to say thank you for your tenure. Now, of course, it looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more like this. Things are changing fast. Technology is changing. Our world is becoming more globalized. Opportunities are more available to more people. And so partly because of things that are happening externally and partly because of opportunities that are more available to a lot of us, we go on more squiggly journeys. And a little plug for Squiggly Careers, which is a great podcast for listening to, just for resources on this type of thing as well. Yeah, you can study, you can work, have a family, that takes you in a whole other direction. You might choose to take a sabbatical, redundancy, career change. People are changing. It's much more normal now to change career multiple times throughout your career journey nowadays. You might go overseas. You might decide you want to retrain. AI is changing the landscape of jobs and what we can do, what computers will do for us, what the future of different careers means. All of this means that it is a lot less predictable now than it used to be. Arguably, a lot more exciting too, if you choose to look at it that way. So, oops, yeah. When you are thinking about changing your career or going back to work, there are a lot of different things to think about. And a lot of people, honestly, when they come to work with me, want to go straight to action. They say, Kate, I want to sort out my CV. I want to do my interview prep. I want to get my cover letter perfect and get me a job. So sometimes we have to press pause. Always we have to press pause and say, okay, before we do that, how are we going to write a good CV if we don't know where it is that we want to go? Right. So there's a lot of work as well that needs to come first about taking stock of where you are now, where your mind's at, where your skills are at, where your experience is at, what you're motivated by, what your priorities are, a little bit about the practicalities and understanding what gaps might need to be filled to help you to get to where you want to be. And there's a lot about mindset in there as well, and introducing new habits, new mindsets to get you feeling confident and ready for work. Now, in my coaching programs, which are obviously a lot longer than an hour group webinar, we would look at all of these different bits usually. And today we're just going to pull out some of them. Today we're really going to think about the mindset piece and getting a real sense of who you are now and what can help guide you on the journey to get to where you want to be. An example that I have from one of my clients, a fantastic woman, really, really experienced, brilliant at her job, but had been there for a while and had been feeling pretty stuck for a long time, really wanted to be doing something different. By the time she and I started working together, she had been doing multiple applications for multiple jobs, and she hadn't got a single interview. So when she met with me, this had, of course, really knocked her confidence. She was beginning to question whether she should be changing her job, whether she was capable of doing her job. She was beginning to think about maybe she should go look down and go take a sort of demotion if she wanted to move out of her company. And honestly, she was not getting interviews because of her lack of skills or experience. Far from it. She was exceptionally well experienced. The problem was that she didn't know where she wanted to go. She didn't know what she wanted to do. And so that kind of came across in her CV and in her applications, because she didn't have a clear story. She didn't have a clear message explaining why she was applying for that job. So over the course of 6 months, we worked together. We looked at a range of these different things, helping her to get clarity about the incredible range of things that she brought to the table and how she wanted to use that moving forward, and what value she could add and what direction she wanted to go. She is now the CEO of a fantastic company that is totally aligned with her values and doing brilliantly well, I'm pleased to say. So she is a really brilliant case study for me of how important this work can be, not only in terms of getting direction, but also building up confidence and getting to a point where you really believe in where you want to go and how you can get there. So we need to start off thinking about what it is that we really, really want. And I put this picture up. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing documentaries about the Spice Girls and boy bands and girl bands of the 90s all over the place. So I couldn't resist a little token of Spice Girls to get you thinking about what is it that you really want. And we're going to do a few exercises here to start thinking about that. So a little visual here to help you kind of picture the scene. Okay, we've got our island at the bottom, which is where you are now. Okay, this is the experience that you've got up to date. This is what is working for you, what is not working for you, what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying. All of those bits that are where you are now. At the other end, up here, we have got where you want to be. And it's got a pot of treasure on it, because this is a good place. This is somewhere where you want to go, right? And then in between, there is one path to get from where you are now to where you want to be. I mean, honestly, there are multiple paths that are worth probably exploring at this point, but for the purposes of this graphic, I've just done one. And you'll notice that there are a few sharks along the way, a few dangers, a few problems, maybe a few challenges or issues or blocking points that we might need to consider. There are also opportunities along the way as well. There might be some other little stop-off points, some great riptides that can help get us there a bit faster. So what we do in coaching is we kind of create this map. We work out where it is that we are, where we want to go. We look at the various routes and all those obstacles and opportunities in beneath, and then we put it into action. Today, we're going to look at, first of all, where you are now. So I'm going to invite you now to just spend a little bit of time thinking about, and I'm going to give you a couple of options here because I understand that lots of you will be at different stages and in different situations at the moment. But I want you to take your mind back to a time that you would consider to be a highlight in your career. Okay, it might be that you haven't been in work for a while, so you might need to go back a little way. Fine. It might be the job that you're currently in. It might not be the job you're in, even though you're working. It might be another thing from before. It really doesn't actually matter too much, but I want you to just pick a time. It could be an actual event. It could be a longer term project that was a real highlight for you. And I want you to just get that moment or that project, that piece of work that you would consider to be a highlight. This was good. I felt good, into your mind. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions about it and just give you a little bit of time to kind of paint this picture for yourself. So I want you to think, okay, what were you doing? Nice easy question for you to start. What were you doing? Where were you? I want you to think about what skills you were needing to use during this highlight moment. And I want you to think about the strengths and the qualities that you had to display to do this. Because sometimes it might have been very challenging. Were there any qualities then or strengths that you had to pull on that were actually, it was hard, but it was good. It felt great. I want you to think about who was there. Were you working totally independently? Were you in a team? Who was in the team? Who were the external stakeholders? What types of people? What kind of relationships were there that helped this to be a highlight? Or dynamics, if you actually, it's something you were doing on your own, what was it about that was made it a real highlight? I want you to think about the underlying kind of, that we've been a bit surface here, but underlying all that, what was the purpose of it? And how did that make it a highlight? What was the underlying reason? And how did that make this feel good and make it feel important? I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit to let you just ruminate. Okay, we're going to go the opposite way. We're not going to spend as long there because it's not as fun. But let's just think about, we've got our peaks and our troughs, right? So I just want to spend a little bit of time in a low light, a low point of your career so far, when maybe you felt frustrated or irritated or bored or just unhappy in the thing that you were doing. And I just want you to sit there for a minute and just think, okay, what was going on? What was happening? What were you being asked to do? Or what were you having to do that made this not feel good? We've got a real comparison here now, haven't we, between this highlight and this low light. Again,
Very uncomfortable place to be, isn't it? When you
I'm not
start
going to keep you there
that,
for long.
Negative place.
I'm not going to keep you there for long, but it's data. It's all information. I'm going to ask you, who was there? And it's not necessarily about the individuals. We don't need to go like going back in time and getting triggered by individuals who made us feel bad, but what were the underlying characteristics or dynamics of the people or the relationships that you had to deal with that just didn't feel right and that you would not want to repeat? What skills were you not using that you wanted to use? Or what strengths and qualities did you have to use that you don't want to be using? Why was it not a good time? Now, the purpose of these exercises, thinking about the highs and the lows, probably already guessed it. There's a couple, really. One is to really kind of get a sense of, what are your skills? What are your natural skills and your natural strengths? What are the things that you default to, that you enjoy, that you know that you enjoy, that you would like to be doing more of? Okay. Even the negative, the low light, sorry, what are the bits in there that you know you really don't want to be doing? Or even, can you think, that was really tough, but I did have to use something and I think I did that quite well, right? Like even if it was getting out of that thing, right? What does that tell you about you, your strengths, your motivations, your skills to have been able to navigate that situation that you can maybe use to help inform what you want to take with you in your suitcase as you travel to the next island? So let's think a little bit now. We're doing a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but let's think about this island of where you want to be. I put some treasure on there because it's somewhere attractive. So what does that island look like for you? Now, we could go into a big visualization about this and really thinking about the detail of it. We're not going to today. But just instinctively, what does that place, that ideal work, role, position, organization, what does that look like? What is that treasure that you're trying to get to? Just sort of formulate. It doesn't have to be totally clear. That's okay. But there will be some feelings probably and some conceptual ideas of like things that you know you want there, things that you know you don't want there. And some of you might actually be a lot clearer on that at this point, and in this evening, it's fine. It's just an opportunity to explore what that might look like. And the next thing we need to think about, and I would also, I know I'm going through this because of time and I want to be able to cover lots of things. You'll have the recording, go back, think about it longer, spend time, write things down. Do pause it. I know you can't pause me right now, but pause it on the video and spend time actually really thinking about this when you have more time. But for now, this evening, let's think now about this, the route, right? Because when you travel in a ship, like we would on this one, in a boat from the island to the island, we're going old school here, you might need a compass, right? You need something to direct you to know that you're going in the right direction. And this is a really valuable bit of the work, because not only when we were looking at those islands of where you are now and where you want to be, we were looking at skills, we were looking at strengths, but you were also beginning to think about your values. What is it that you really value? What is it that you think is important? What is guiding your decisions and your behaviors? What makes you act the way that you act and do the things that you do? Generally, when everything is good and we feel happy, our values are aligned, or we are hitting enough of our values. We generally have a selection of core values, maybe 5 or 6 core values that are like innate in us. They're like in us. And if we're feeling good, those values are being met well enough, right? That's not to say they are all being met perfectly. That's kind of the unicorn of a role, but everything is being met enough within work and within the other things that you're able to do in the work-life balance that you have. It's all good. If you're starting to feel stuck or lost or dissatisfied, usually it's because one or more of your values are just not being met enough. Or maybe even worse, what you're actually being asked to do is in direct conflict with a value that you have. Now, we all have these values. We all are instinctively swayed by them and react and behave because of them, but often we don't actually know what they are. We don't know what the words are or how to describe them. So a large part of the work that I do with clients is to really get some clarity around what are those driving values, that compass that helps us to make decisions, that we can kind of measure where it is that we want to go. Now, there are so many different ways that we can describe values. I mean, in the English language alone, there are hundreds, thousands of words that we could probably use. And my definitions and words would probably be different from your definitions and words. So we're going to look at a few values in a moment. This is not to say these are the only values. And it is also not to say that these ones are going to be yours or that they're the words that you would choose. So rather than thinking too much about the words in this instance, it's more about like the feeling and your interpretation of them. There are some coaches and coaching exercises where you might have like 200 values. There are coaching exercises where you might use pictures instead of words. I've actually got a sheet of 50 values that you could do the next exercise or similar exercises to explore your values more, using a bigger range of values and words. So I will share that with Jo later so that she can email that to you all in case you're interested in doing more work on it. But for the benefit of this evening, we're just going to do a little values experiment with just 6 values. I've picked 6 values here that I think are kind of give a bit of a broad overview of them. You look at them, again, don't get too caught up on the words. You might word it slightly differently. That's fine. But there might be some that you look at on first glance and go, oh, that one's interesting. And there might be some that you go, oh, gosh, no. Or, absolutely fine. There are no right values, wrong values, better values, worse values. I think we can often get caught up in thinking we should be doing things this way, right? Oh, you know, I should be valuing this thing here because that's what society tells me to do. But the fact of the matter is you are who you are, and your priorities are your priorities, and your personal thing is your personal thing, and there is nothing wrong with who you are and what your values are. And it can become a problem when you try and do things for other people or for society or anything. So when you're doing this work, I think
Sorry, Kate, would it be fair to say that your values change over time?
well, that's a great question. I would say they might change a bit, but they don't change much. I would say more the priority of them changes. So you might have underlying like 6 values that don't really change much, but some of them will become much more important at certain times of your life than others. Like for me, adventure is a massive priority of mine, a massive value of mine, but I also have a 7-year-old. So like I really still value adventure. I want adventure. I want to give her adventure, but it looks very different now to how it looked when I was in my 20s. And I maybe can't access adventure as much in my life as I did before, and I might do again in the future. So there is a shifting within it. But generally they stay pretty much the same. That's a really great question. Thank you. So for the purposes of this exercise, what I would like you to do is I'm going to stop talking in a minute, believe it or not, but I want you to just spend a minute or so thinking about each card and imagining this island that you want to head to, right? This future role, career, job that you're heading for. If you approached that island with each value kind of centered. So if you were to think, right, I want to approach this, even if they don't resonate with you, this is still data, it's still interesting, right? If I were to approach this next step with the value of working with others at the center, what would that look like? What would it feel like? What would I need to find out about that role, or that job? What would I be looking for? Spend a bit of time there. How does that feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel a bit, that's not mine? And then go on to the next one. Okay, leadership. If I were to focus on my value of leadership for my role, my next step, what would that look like? Move around the circle, thinking about all of them, and just notice what comes up. Which ones feel right? Which ones feel wrong? Which ones really interest you? And which ones don't? So I'm going to stop talking for a minute, just for like 4 minutes or so, to give you time to just move around and spend time on each value. Imagining you're approaching your next role with that value in the center. Okay, just one more minute because we don't have much time and you can always go back to this. Just thinking maybe if you haven't gone through all of them, choose one more. And then feel free to just put in the chat if you want to. Oh, they're still here. You can still see them. Which value resonated with you the most in order to explore your new work direction? And which one resonated the least?
Talking when I'm on mute, that's clever. If you can't access the chat, you can use the Q&A box to write your response. Okay, so a couple of people saying independence.
Okay.
Understand. A couple coming through with achievement. I resonate very strongly with that. Achievement is a big value of mine. Stability is starting to come through. Oh, some people are saying stability is the least. Takes all sorts, meaningful work.
Notice how you're so different from each other, depending on your personality, your circumstance, what's most important.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a real mixed bag coming through. I think meaningful work seems to be repeated.
Yeah.
Probably the most.
Yeah. So a little practical tip for you all in terms of how to use these values. One is to help you direct your decisions and where you want to be starting to research and look, but also thinking about where you want to go to. When you're looking at organizations, what is advertised versus what is lived and breathed? I don't know if any of you have had the experience that I've had of an organization that says it values some things, and actually the reality is that they don't seem to value those at all. They just say they do. So considering then what kind of information are you going to be looking for to help you feel confident, or as confident as you can when you don't work there yet, that the organization and the work, the team align with your values? What are you going to be looking for when you read the job description, when you have the interview, when you look at the website, when you go onto Glassdoor and do like snooping in the background, like all of these things that can help to inform you about your decision making? It's just a good tip for you to be considering once you're clearer on what your values are and what you really want to prioritize. Now, I know we're coming to the end, so just really quickly, I want to just talk a little bit more about that route through and the sharks on the way. Like we all have, I don't know if you're aware of this model, we've probably all heard of the comfort zone and the fear zone and the growth zone. So the comfort zone for me is like, it's that island where you are now. Generally, you're comfortable there, it's reliable, you know what you're doing, it's predictable. But it might not be starting to feel a little bit boring, or you want more challenge. And over on the other side of the sea, oh gosh, sorry, throwing a light around. Over on the other side of the sea is the growth zone, right? You can see it's there, opportunities for learning, opportunities for growth, opportunities for challenge. But in between you and there is the fear zone. And that to me is like the sea. You're on your island, and if you dip your toe into that sea, into the fear zone, you're a little bit worried that you're gonna be eaten by a shark. And those sharks might be saying all sorts of things. They might be saying, you're going to fail. They might be saying, you should stay where you are because you can't afford this. They could be saying all sorts of different things, right? So my invitation to you is that you need to get to know your sharks. Now, we are not going to have time now to write the sharks in the Q&A, but I invite you to think, what are those sharks saying to you? What are you worried about? Because once we know what they are, you can start to actually do something, either acknowledge them and go, okay, yeah, those sharks are real. I don't want to get eaten by that shark. I need to think about something else. But sometimes, and actually quite often, we might realize that some of the sharks that we're having in our head that are stopping us from going across the sea are not real, or they feel much bigger in our heads than they are in real life. So get them all out, acknowledge them, notice what they are, group them, which ones are insurmountable, which ones can be overcome, rank them, which ones are the most important ones that you really need to address. Think about who or what can support you with the risks. One of the risks is you don't have enough experience. How can you get more experience? Is that possible? Is that viable? Can your partner help you financially while you do that? All these types of questions that often are all up here saying, you're not going to do it. And actually, it just requires you getting it out and then maybe having a conversation or doing some research to find out what the answer is and whether it is, in fact, a real thing. Then weighing up the risk with opportunity, the risk to opportunity and the alignment. So which is winning? Is the risk bigger or is the opportunity bigger, right? What are you willing to do? My invitation to you is to get those sharks out so you can start building that bridge. Because once you're over that bridge, even if you have to take a detour because that shark is just unavoidable, fine. You might need to change your route. You might even need to change your island. But once you've done that, you can start to move, and then you get into the learning zone where you can learn more, you can research, you can start speaking to people, asking questions, approaching people with a clearer direction to then go into the growth zone and find yourself in a place which is more aligned to your values and giving you the challenge and the joy that we are looking for. There is my whistle stop tour. Very quickly, because we want to go on to questions. I'm just going to put this up here just in case you would like to continue this conversation. I am offering discounted hour-long sessions as a follow-up to here, where we can just talk about you and your journey, your sharks, your islands. Get some time in with me if you're interested. It's just £60 for the hour, and there is a QR code there that if you are interested, go ahead and you can just book straight in, and that will be open until the end of November. You might need to book later than November, absolutely fine. As long as you get the booking in before the end of November, you'll get that discounted price.
Thank you.
Sorry, I really sped up at the end.
I was just thinking about my own sharks there for a little while and talking to people on the chat about how much they love your shark voice. So I think
do excellent voices. I think it's part of having a small child. I'm just going to try and put my light back up while you
go for it. I will talk to everybody for a minute. Thank you ever so much for that. Hopefully everybody in attendance this evening can take something away. Lots of practical tips to go away, lots of exercises that you can run through when the recording comes through, or if you've been making notes tonight already, I'm sure that you're going to be having lots of food for thought about your own personal circumstance. We will be sending a recording out. I had a couple of people ask during the presentation whether a recording would be coming out. Yes, it will. That will either be tomorrow or Friday, along with the values sheet that Kate mentioned, and a Q&A document, because quite a few of you have been asking questions and we are relatively short on time, so I'm not sure we're going to get to.
I spoke too much.
The content was a couple of questions that I just wanted to grab your thoughts on while you're here.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people who are obviously, one of their sharks may be around confidence potentially, and they don't really know how to address that shark, because it can be immobilizing if you've got a lack of confidence. We speak to a lot of people who may be returning after a career break, or possibly have been through a significant life event, and that has prompted their career change. Any overall advice on how to get into a more confident mindset?
Yeah, it's a big question that needs more time. I think a couple of things is to really start acknowledging and recognizing the things that you're doing well. An activity that I really recommend to people, it's super easy. We all love a to-do list, right? At the beginning of every day, where we write all the things that we need to do and then tick them off. I really recommend people to do at the end of the day what I call a to-da list. And that is writing down at least 3 things that you've done really well. And even if you're not working at the moment, there are still things that are relevant to work that you have done really well, whether it's organizing people, managing a project, even if that's dinner, right? There are things that you are doing and skills that you are using that are worth noting down and celebrating. So writing them down, not only actually what it was, but also how you had a role in it and what impact it had. So you're starting to create a portfolio of things that just show that you are the awesome human that everybody else knows that you are. And that can just sort of help to break the back of that mindset thing. I think another thing very quickly, if you are looking for jobs, is just have a bit of a mindset shift around. We generally, as humans, some people think it's a gendered thing. I would argue that it's not, because I see it across the board. We think that we can only apply for a job if we have 100% of the things on the list. My offer to you would be that if you can do 100% of the things on the list, you should be looking for the next step up in jobs, because you don't want to be doing something where you can already do it all, because that would be boring and you wouldn't be learning anything. So if you can switch the mindset from I need to be able to do everything and I can't do it, or I haven't done it for ages, to I actually can do enough of this to be able to make a good start and then learn and do really well. And you can see yourself being able to do that further down the line after you've had the support that you should get. That can change the mindset around I need to be perfect and know it all to I know enough. And that can be a really powerful obstacle to kind of overcome in terms of the confidence to just try the things that are fully within your reach.
What a great answer, and thank you so much for that. I love the idea of a to-do list, and dinner is often the most challenging part of the day, whether you're working or not, to be honest. I mean, especially when kids are involved, because they are our greatest critic. Unfortunately, we have run out of time to address everybody else's questions. There are some brilliant questions there, though, and I'm gutted not to be able to come back to them live. We will come back to them separately. The offer was put out from Kate for you to contact her. Please do get in touch if you think that an hour with her would be beneficial. I know that it would be. You're also more than welcome to get in touch with me or any of my colleagues at Ten2Two. Some of the questions that came through were about practical job search tips, and we are the experts, or at least we like to think we are the experts in such things. Even if you're not looking for flexible part-time work at the moment, please do feel free to get in touch and we will help as best we possibly can. And the 50 bazillion questions that came through about AI, way bigger topic than we would be able to address, even if we had more time this evening. But yeah, please do send your questions through and we will try and answer them as best we possibly can. Although AI probably would have changed by tomorrow, so our answers will be out of date. Thank you, Kate, ever so much for your insight. I hope, as I said, that everybody is able to take something away from this evening. Thank you all for attending this evening and giving us your time. We hope to see you again at the next one. But for now, I will let you get on with your evening.
Thank you, everybody.